Live Kabbalah is a non-profit organization founded for the distribution of the wisdom of Kabbalah and its values. Learning the original principles of this wisdom can reconnect us with the true values of our society, including the belief in the dignity and freedom of man, democracy, and the freedom of speech.
Hello everyone, this week we're in Parashat VaYetse. It's after Parashat Toldot. VaYetse, you can find it in the book of Genesis chapter 28 verse 10. And it says in Yaakov, VaYetse Yaakov in Beersheva vayelech Harana. And Jacob departed from Beersheva and he went to Haran. And we can have questions about why did Yaakov had to depart Beersheva to go to Haran. You don't have to depart from somewhere to go to somewhere else. You can just start with and that Yaakov went to Haran. Why do you have to depart? Why do you have a special committee of escorting him out of Beersheva? Beersheva was a little village at that time. So what was the whole big deal of Jacob leaving Beersheva? And then it says he went to Haran. Haran, to mention, is where his family lived in Turkish Kurdistan, southeast of Turkey, of today. Vayifga b'makom, vayalen sham. He was going to Haran, and he hits a place, and he slips over there. We have few verbs that are kind of unusual, unnecessary. And we know when that is there in the Torah is hinting us, it's not like you see it, look deeper. Look deeper, we go to Rashi, the French commentator from 1,000 years ago, and if you think he makes it easier, like usually he makes it even harder. Why? He wants you to think. And what does Rashi say? He says that VaYetse, says he didn't have to write depart, yet Jacob departed, but that's not my words. He could say Vayelech Yaakov Haran, and Jacob went to Haran. Very normal, right? But remember, the Torah is not a storytelling book. It is a book that is giving us a wisdom, hints, how to improve our lives. So the Torah is never telling us about somebody that walked from one place to another. It's like this is so trivial and unnecessary information. So the story is much deeper. Why did he have to mention his departure? Rashi is asking, and he's saying there's few answers, but one of them is that when Jacob left Beersheva, he did what is called Kfitzat Haderech. Kfitzat Haderech, most Israelis know this terminology. In English, I don't know if there's a word for it, but the closest to it is called quantum leap, which means when you jump from one city to another without going in between, like magicians do. They just, one moment they're in Beersheva, the second moment they're in Haran, whoops, and they're there. It's about 1,000 miles, let's say, but they could do it. It says that great Kabbalists can do things like this because, as we know, that the dimensions of this physical world are pretty elusive, and they don't really exist in the spiritual real world. So we can hop through the other dimension and jump from Beersheva to Haran, and it's called Kfitzat Haderech, which is jumping the road in Hebrew. That's like easy translation, simple translation, jumping the road. In English, quantum leap. What is a quantum leap? Quantum leap is exactly the same thing, but on the subatomic level. When an electron is in one level, and you want that electron to move to the other level, so you push, you get some energy, and you get some energy into this electron, and you get more and more and more infusion of energy into that electron, and then one moment will be that the electron will hop from one level to level 2. It never goes to level 1.2, 1.5, 1.75. It would just hop from 1 to 2. There's no 1.5. And that's called quantum leap. What does it mean? It leaps from one place to another without being anywhere in between. Later on, they found out that you can really send a particle, an electron or an atom, from one place to another without them being on the road. Is this logical? No, but this is real. To show that our logic has nothing to do with reality. Okay? It is real because it was proven. Because our logic cannot accept someone going from A to B without going through on the road between A to B. Correct? There are all kinds of points you have to go through. Right? No, you don't have to. That was proven. And today, it's going to be, the research is about creating something very practical. Let's say, communications between computers. If you can do that, it means no more problems with reception. Because if the information hops from your computer to somebody else's computer, you don't need the radio waves, you don't need the wires, and nobody can tap to your information because it doesn't go. It hops from one computer to another. That's a technology that they're working on right now. This is science. Okay? Is it logical? No. But it's real. Jacob knew this stuff many years ago, and he was hopping from, and that's why he needed the word departure. Because you have to depart from A in order to go to B. Okay? You need that hop. You need a critical amount of energy to be able to make that hop. That's quantum physics. Why it's called quantum physics? Because in Greek, quanta is a measurement, right? You need a measure, one measure of energy that is enough to make that leap. And if you don't have enough, you have only 99% of the energy you need. It's like you can't buy a plane ticket that costs $100. You can't buy it with $99. Why? The system, if you buy it online, won't get it. Right? You can't. If you have only $99, you can buy a $100 ticket. Same thing over here. The electron cannot buy the ticket if it doesn't have all the coupons. Right? All the credits. Same thing. In order to make that hop, you need to have a certain amount of energy to be able to make that departure and to be able to move to the next level. Okay? Why are we talking about it? Because we see it's getting weirder as we go on. And it says that the sun came, the sun set. And it says that he hopped the road from Beersheba to Haran. However, what does it say? It says he hits the place. The place. What is the place? If somebody remembers from the binding of Isaac, the word the place was always in the Torah. Usually the word the place, hamakom, is used for one place, that is the place. The energy center of the planet, which is the Temple Mount. It's being used all over the 5 books of Moses and later on. The place there's only one place that is the place, which is the place of the binding of Isaac. Now, he hits the place between something happened with his hopping. He was hopping to Haran. Oops, where am I? It's dark, and he can't go anywhere because he lost his coordinates properly. So he goes to sleep. He goes to sleep, and it says, and he lies down to sleep at the place. Okay? And it says, he took from the stones of the place, and he puts them under his head. And then he has a dream. And the dream is, he sees a ladder up to the sky. Who didn't hear about Jacob's ladder? That's where he gets that dream. And the ladder is standing on the earth, and the head of the ladder goes up to the heavens. And the angels of God coming up and down the ladder. And God is standing above on the ladder and saying, or above him, and says, I am God, the Lord of your father Abraham and the Lord of Isaac. The land that you're lying on, I'll give it to you and your offsprings. Okay? And the question that Rashi is asking, how big is that land that he's lying on? You know? Let's say Jacob was a big person. Let's say he was more than 6 foot tall. Okay? Still, it's a very small piece of land. It's good only for a burial place. Right? Usually, if you have a burial place, it's a little bit bigger than 6 foot. Right? So, what do you mean the land you're lying on? So Rashi has an explanation. He takes it from the other sages also, and he's saying, that's very simple. God folded the whole country underneath Jacob. Oh my God. This is, instead of pushing it so much, you could say, the land I promised Abraham is yours. Why having that thing? And if that's not weird enough, finally when he wakes up, he says, this is the gate of heaven, this place. And I know this is God's place. How awesome is this place? This is the house of God. Later on, that's where the temple was built. Right? The Holy of Holies. This is the gate of heavens. He wakes up in the morning, and he says he took the stone that was under his head and make a monument out of it, put oil on it, anointed the stone, and so on and so forth. We have a little problem because in the beginning we said that when he went to sleep, he put some stones. Now it is a stone. What happened? Oh, no problem. Rashi says, he brings it from the more older documents. There were stones, yes, but they were fighting among themselves. Like, the head of a man is not so big, so the stones were fighting. Who is going to be the one that Jacob is going to put his head on from all the stones? Can you imagine all the stones quarreling with each other and fighting with each other? No, it's going to be me. No, it's going to be me. I'm more important. I'm more righteous, whatever. Finally, God couldn't stand that quarrel. He made them all one stone. Enough with that. Right? So whoever says that Rashi is making, all this, whatever written in the Torah clear, it makes it even harder to understand unless you read the Zohar, as usually. And what the Zohar is teaching us is the same story all over again. If you didn't notice the first story, you notice the second story. If not the second story, the third story, because the only way you can understand those commentaries is that when Jacob is leaving Beersheba and he goes to Haran, he's making the symbol is a symbol of every person in his spiritual growth. And the spiritual growth of a person is that Beersheba, the Zohar says, is a symbol for Malchut. What is Malchut? Sfirat Malchut is the level of here and now. This is Sfirat Malchut. It is the 7th Sfira. That's why Beersheba, it's called the well of 7. That's what Beersheba means. The well of the 7. The 7th level is usually number 7 is Sfirat Malchut. Or number 10. Depends when you start to count, but that's not the issue right now. Now, Jacob is leaving Beersheba. Why is leaving Beersheba? He's in trouble. His brother wants to kill him. Esau. Now, he has to depart from that place, because if you're looking at it as a spiritual saga, he is in a place that his brother wants to kill him. One problem, his brother is a killer. He is a real professional killer. That's Esau. That's one thing. The other thing, it's like, this is a terrible thing that your brother wants to kill you. Why? Because you stole his birthright and his blessing, which is not such a nice thing to do. Okay? You're not with such a great relationship with your brother, and your parents are also upset about the relationship you have with your brother, right? Because that's, any couple of parents, when they hear that one brother wants to kill the other, it doesn't make anyone happy. So, when you're stuck in such a situation, you want to get out of it. And getting out of it, there are two ways. One is simply to run away out of the country. But here the Torah is giving us another issue, which is you have to get out of that situation. And getting out of that situation means you have to depart. You have to make a quantum leap. You have to make a quantum leap, which is called Kfitzat HaDerech. And that, or in another word, it's called Nes. In English, a miracle. What's the definition of a miracle? It's something that happens that your logic cannot understand, and it is above and beyond the rules of nature. Right? What is the biggest miracle a person can ever experience? It's the miracle that he is in a trouble, in a certain place of, I'm in fighting with this, I'm in trouble with this, I'm so and so, and I have a whole explanation to why and how all of this trouble is set, and I depart that place, that state of mind, and I hop to another place in which, what was that? In which I have a whole different mindset, in which I see the trouble from a different place, in which the place is not that place, it's not me anymore. That's called, according to Kabbalistic teaching, that's called a miracle. And Parashat VaYetse is always in the beginning of the month of Kislev, Sagittarius, which is the month of the holiday of Hanukkah, which is the holiday of miracles. And so what is a miracle? Here Parashat VaYetse is giving us the whole formula for creating a miracle. In order to create a miracle, you need to make a quantum leap. You have to depart where you are, which means to say, whatever I believe is right, whatever I believe is the truth, whatever I believe is reality, whatever I perceive is reality, I have somehow to let go of it and depart between let go. You know that expression, let go and let God. Let go and let God. Which means, in order to allow God to come in, you have to let go of all what you believe in. What does it mean believe in? Because the moment you are so convinced that you are in trouble, you're in trouble. Why? Because you're convinced you're in trouble. Because the logic that got you into the trouble cannot take you out of it. So in order to get out of that trouble, you need to hop, jump, have a leap of faith to another logic. And that's the quantum leap we're talking about. Vayelech Yaakov miBe'er Sheva, VaYetse Yaakov miBe'er Sheva, Vayelech Harana. What is Harana? Yes, Haran is a place in Turkey of today. That's correct. However, Haran has another meaning in Hebrew. Haran means anger. When you depart the old place and you go to a place of anger, but if you do it in a proper way, which means on the hop, you just are willing to let go of all the negativity and all the old logic. Where do you reach? The Holy of Holies, instead of reaching the place of anger. If you're willing to let go, if you're willing to depart the old you. Let's say you're not so right. Let's say you're right, but that's not important if you're right or wrong. Let's say that you're not supposed to be in the same state of mind because that state of mind is not so good for you. How do you know? Look at you. You're in a bad place. Your brother wants to kill you. People hate you. You're in a bad place. It means that somehow it can't be that everybody is to be blamed and you're okay. Things don't happen for nothing. Okay, there's so many expressions like this. There's no smoke without fire. If you are in a state of trouble, you are in a state of trouble. Okay, you can't say I'm not. Oh, it's their fault. Even if it's their fault, why are you with them? Why are you stuck with them? The only way to solve the problem is to depart, to make a departure, to have a quantum leap. So, one of the major issues in a person's life is the ability to have these departures, which is you have to recognize your state of mind, your emotional state of mind, the pain, the misery, the blame, the darkness. You have to pull yourself out and look at it and to say, this place is a place I don't want to be there anymore. Between this place is the place I have to depart. First of all, you have to know where you're going from. Because if you don't, if you're not convinced that this place is wrong, there's no reason why you should get out of there. First of all, you have to understand that I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want to be in a place of anger. I don't want to be in a place of fight. I don't want to be in a place of feud. I don't want to be in a place of separation. I don't want to be in this place anymore. In order to be able to have a departure, you have to want enough to leave, and to want enough to leave, you have to want enough not to be there. That's why you have to mention Be'er-Sheva over here. My malchut, my vessel right now, my state of existence right now, I'm fed up. If you're not fed up of it, there's no way you're going to get out of there. So the Kabbalists say there are two ways you can get out of it. Two ways you can get out of a place you're stuck in for years. One way is that you see another place, and it's shining so much, and you want it so much that you just go there. Usually, this is not the case. Usually, the case is that you are so uncomfortable in the old place, it becomes so bad and so troublesome and so painful that you go no matter where just to get out. That's how people move. People don't move otherwise. If it's not painful enough, they don't move. So the Kabbalists say this is called a divorce system. That God is giving us a divorce. When you're holding on to the old place, to the old state of mind, to the old ways that's the way I like it, that's my cup of tea. Just a second. A human being is not an angel. Angels never change. Human beings, if you don't change, you become an angel. Not in the sky, maybe in hell. Why? Because a human being has to change, must go through a change. You can't see everything the way you saw it. If you have relationships and it's all the same year after year, it's dead. If you have a business and it's all the same year after year, it's dead. And especially yourself, you look in the mirror, it's all the same year after year, it's dead. You have to move on and on and on. Life is about transforming, changing and changing. To change, you need a mechanism, and the mechanism is that I'm here for the purpose of changing. I didn't wake up this morning to live yesterday again. I had yesterday already. Today has to be something never been done before. But in order to have it different, I have to depart the old perceptions, the old state of mind, the old prejudices that I had and emotions that I had towards people, towards myself, whatever. I have to look at everything that I know and to say, that is what I have to depart from. Okay? How do I do that? Now here are the two ways to do it. First of all, we gave some hints. So, by the way, all of these stories that we had about Jacob jumping the road or hitting the place, then the stones, it's all about one thing, that you have to let go the physical perception of what you can and what you can't. You have to let go of that in order to become a spiritual person. Because a spiritual person never listens to his mind saying, I can and I can't. A spiritual person is saying, I'm here too long and I have to get out of here. Where? I don't know, but it has to be a different place. How do I know you need a different place? You start to smell that the old place starts to get stale. How do you know? It doesn't smell good. 2, you can't stand people anymore. you're not nice anymore. It means that you are too long in the same place. Move on. Move on. Hop on. That's the word. You have to hop to another place. Where? You don't know. Why you don't know? You cannot perceive the new place with the old consciousness. When you get there, it's not going to be the old one, so you're not going to see the same. You can't have the same. It's like you can't explain the new version of a computer to the old version. Because if the old version knew it, it will be the new one, right? So you have to shut down the old one, download the new one. Oops! Suddenly your computer knows stuff you didn't know before. What happened? Did you have to explain it? No. You just deleted the old version and downloaded the new version, and oops, there's a quantum leap. And that's what a human being is about. It's about always upgrading and upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. And if you're holding on to the old cup of tea, you're in a bad place. When people are saying, it's not my cup of tea, so maybe it's time it's going to be your cup of tea. Maybe it's time. How long is this your cup of tea? Oh, it's a long time already. Oh, so it's time to... I don't know if this is your cup of tea, the new one, but you have to look for a new cup of tea, because this cup of tea, if you have a cup of tea standing on your desk for too long, things start to grow inside, right? So don't leave it too long. It's like, a cup of tea is fresh, first few minutes, after that, it's not the same thing anymore. Same thing, your consciousness of today is not valid for tomorrow. Use it for today, let go of it, depart, hop on to the next one. And that's what life is about. It's about upgrading and renewing ourselves. And this is why Jacob, because Jacob is the symbol in the Torah, the Bible, of the central column. Because how do you make that hop? You need to accumulate enough desire, enough passion, and also enough energy. How do you do that? There are few ways basically, let's say, two major ways or three you can have that leap of faith, leap of a quantum leap. A is your community. When you have around you people that they have that state of mind, and they move on and on and on, and they know how to let go and let God, they know how to let go of what was, and always jump and look forward for what's coming up. It's contagious. Not just it's contagious, here you have an issue with your ego. Why? Our ego that usually is hurting us, but when you are around people that are in a higher level than you are, your ego will do anything possible to become like them. Then is the best thing to have, an ego. Why? Your ego is saying, look at them. They're moving forward. Look at them. They're happy. They're so kind. They're so beautiful people. You look how they react to things. You have to be like them. Because you feel so negative being next to people that are so much more spiritual than you are. Your ego do anything possible to be accepted. This is when you need your ego. Right? And then you'll do anything possible. You'll try and you make the effort. And when you make the effort, that's what the sages are saying in Ethics of the Fathers. Yagata u'matzata tamin. You make the effort, you'll find it. What do you mean you find it? When you have a quantum leap, you never know where you're going to land. You never know where you're going to land, but it's going to be a better place. You know one thing. I'm going to a better place, and I'm not going to stay where I was. That's the two things you know. In order to be able to move, to make that quantum leap, you need the quanta of energy. Where are you going to get that energy from? So, if you place yourself around people that's what they do, your ego will give you enough ego energy to make all the efforts possible to move on. So, that's why they say, the sages, it's better to be a tail for the lions than to be the head of the foxes. If you are the head of the foxes, It feels great, right? Because all the foxes will give you some respect. You are the head of the foxes. However, it's a catch. You'll never change because you're already the head. There's nothing to be more than the head of the foxes, right? You're stuck. You think it's okay? It's not. You're stuck. But because for your negative ego, that's great. Look, everybody respects me. I'm the best. The best where? Among the foxes. But the fox is not such a respectable creature. Okay? So it's better you move from among the foxes and become part of the lions. And then when you come being the head of the foxes to become a lion, you'll be a tail for the lions. They look at you, oh, this guy is like, oh, he came from the foxes. However, you have a whole ladder waiting for you all the way to the top. Which means you have a vision. You have a road placed in front of you. And you start, and your engines will start to work, because who can be a tail for the lions? The moment you're a tail for the lions, you're at the bottom of the bottom. What do you think? I'm not in the right place. I have to climb up the ladder, right? Then your engines will start pushing. What should I do? What should I do to change, to become better? Maybe I should run better. Maybe I should do this better. Because you can't stand. Nobody loves to be the last in the food chain, right? But when you're on the top, you're complacent. You're not moving. But when you feel that you're in the bottom, what do you need for that? You always have to push your way up to become part of a group of people that most of them are in a higher place than you are. That will force you to make all possible efforts to move up. You want to know who you're going to be? Look around and see who are the people around you. If those people around you, all of them, they are less than you are, you're going to just lose energy as the years pass by. But if you look around you and all the people around you are better than you are, that means that you're going to become one of them along the years. And this is one of the ways to make the departure, to move on. Because sooner or later, you will be able to get enough of energy. Why? Shame. Self-example of the people around you. The game between these two will give you enough power and energy and the will to make that hop. That's one way. Another way that is not contradictory to the first way is study. When you study, through the study, you create a picture in your mind. So if you study any kind of spiritual literature, it makes you feel complacent that you're okay, that's not good for you. But when you study a spiritual literature that always makes you feel that something is missing, that there's a lot of way to go, when you have that, you start to create a different worldview. And that worldview, the more you study, that becomes your reality. Then, the physical reality, which means what you go through every day, that becomes less and less a reality. So it starts to bother you. Why am I in this place? Why am I in such relationships? It doesn't fit my vision about who is the person I should be. So, as we said, the power of the study, especially when you study the Zohar, when you study texts, their job is first of all transformational, which means to give you the desire, to give you the tools, to give you the earning and the yearning, so you can earn your way up. The more you have these yearnings towards your vision, the more you study, the more you learn, because your mind is a very, very powerful tool. If your mind places you about 1,000 feet above where you are, sooner or later you're going to find yourself where your mind places you. So you have to invest in learning. In learning and establishing and building the vision of what kind of a person I'm supposed to be. The learning. Another one is a prayer. When you pray a few times a day, and your prayers are very strong, and through the prayer you envision who you want to be and what you want to be, the stronger the prayer is, the more chances you have to be able to gather enough energy to make that leap. Now, how are you going to get that energy? There are the tools. The tools are sharing. How do you get light? How do you get energy? By sharing, by caring. You just collect. You can imagine that if you need a certain amount of fuel for a spaceship to hop from the Earth up to the outer space, you need a certain amount of energy to jump and to hop and to depart from your original location to the next one, which is in outer space relatively. So when you get so all the scientists, they know very well that you need to calculate the measure of how much fuel you put in the engine of the missile taking the spaceship, and you have to calculate with the weight of the spaceship and the missile. If you do not calculate it properly, the spaceship could just hop, and then stop on the way up and fall down on your head. Right? You need a critical amount of energy. How do you create such an amount of energy? How do you create such an amount of energy? The way to create this amount of energy is through study, especially when you study the Zohar, that's accumulating a lot of energy. When you study spirituality, that gives you energy. When you meditate, when you do acts of kindness towards other people, because you want to connect to the light of God, you collect a lot of energy. When you are around energetical people that are full of excitement about life, that charges you with energy. When you have enough energy, you'll be able to depart Beersheba and to hit the place and use the ladder. So here's the ladder that we are talking about. But that's not the whole story. Okay? So the ladder is also, that's why basically when Rabbi Ashlag, the greatest Kabbalist of the 20th century, he established the foundations for the Kabbalah movement around the world, and his commentary to the Zohar is Hasulam, which is the ladder. Why? Because the commentary gives us, using the Zohar through Rabbi Ashlag, he gives us the tools how to build the ladder of spiritual growth and transformation. Okay? Now, so all of these stories that we had before, it's just the stories of how to do the impossible, how to achieve the illogical, what's inconceivable. Why? Because that's what the spiritual growth is about. It's about pushing and pushing, and as we said, if you have a spiritual group of people around you, if you study properly, if you study spirituality, and if you pray strong enough, and the best is if you have all three of them, then you'll be able to do these quantum leaps, which means create miracles in your life, because in Hebrew, the word for miracle is nes, that has two meanings. Lanus velitnoses. Lanus is to flee, litnoses is to be waved up above. A flag is also in Hebrew a nes. What is a flag? A flag is something you wave above everything else, right? It's the place you want that everybody looks up to, because the flag is a symbol for the aspirations, the hopes and the beliefs of everyone. That's what a flag is about. That's what a miracle is about. It's the same word in Hebrew. A flag, nes, and a miracle. What is the miracle? That you finally made the way up and you hopped, jumped, departed, and jumped all over to the place where your vision is waving, being waved all above everything else. So these are the tools that is the beginning of this parasha. These are the tools of this month, the month of Sagittarius, Kislev, that we have special energy available during this week and this month to create miracles. Because the vision is open, we have the cosmic acceptance that to make the hop through beautiful visions, because the sign of Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, planet Jupiter. Planet Jupiter is giving great thoughts, great visions. People who are the sign of Sagittarius, they like to be philosophers. They have these visions about saving the world and beautiful thinking, and it's all full of bliss and love and caring. Something that gets you very excited. That's why they're very excited people. Because their visions excite them. And when you have excited people around you, you get excited too. You don't know why, but if everybody's excited, it's contagious. So that's what this month is about, and that's what we're going to do. Now, but that's not the whole parasha. Under this story, we have the next story, chapter 29 in Genesis. So Jacob raises his feet. And the Zohar says, Vayisa Yaakov, and Jacob, it says, Vayisa, he raised his feet. He raised his feet, and he went to the land of the east. Now, when is that a person raises his feet? It's like the word, it isn't schlep his feet, he raises his feet. When he has this kind of this vision that it's going to be amazing, then your feet are light. When you don't like to leave, you drag your feet, right? They're heavy. Why? Because somehow the old place drags you into it. So it says, and he raises his feet and he went to the land of the east. And then it says, why? Because he had a good message. The ladder. He has a vision. God tells him, don't be afraid. Wherever you're going, it's going to be successful. You're going to find a wife. Everything's going to be okay. He has a promise. So, when you have a dream like this, when you connect to such a high place, then your feet are light. Wherever, the road is much easier when you have a vision. When a person has a vision that is much higher than himself, but it's inspiring, it's exciting, then all the troubles of the road are not so significant anymore. Again, why do you need to have a vision? And then it says, he comes and he finds a well. And there are 3 flocks of sheep by the well. But there's a big stone over the well. And all the sheep, all the herds are coming, and they say, and he realizes that there's a problem. What's the problem? He says to them, Jacob is saying, why he's already having this is Jacob. He says to all the shepherds, why are you here? It's still sunlight. When do you come to the well? At the end of the day. Right? So he's telling to the shepherds, why are you not walking? It's not the end of the day yet. It's in sunlight. When do you come to the well? When it's dark. You bring the sheep to the well, and you stay there overnight. Meanwhile, the sheep are drinking. Right? You're not losing time. And they say to him something very weird. The stone over the well is very big. So we need to get few herds together. When you have enough herds together, you have enough shepherds to roll the stone from over the well. So wait for sunset. The Zohar is explaining. When you hop, when you make that hop, when that quantum leap, and you jump from one level to another, that event creates kind of a suction. What does it mean, a suction? During the sin of Adam, Adam was all of humanity, and all the light of humanity. When Adam fell, Adam broke into many, many, many pieces. Those pieces are called sparks. Some of the sparks turned into people. And that's us. Many, many sparks. Pieces of Adam. Some of the sparks were too small to be people, so they become little sparks that they fell into the earth, into the physical reality. Every time we make quantum leaps, we create a suction that our departure, our jumping up to the world above, it's like creating a vacuum that pulls some lost sparks with us to the upper world. And those are the herds that are mentioned over here. So all of these herds are basically all these lost sparks that when we people, we act in actions of kindness, of being faithful for others, all kinds of, when we perform miracles, which means jumping above and beyond our logic, every time we do something like this, every time we overcome our reactions, every time we overcome our old nature and we create a new one, we pull some sparks of light from the bottom to the top. And those are, all of these are kind of the herds of all of these flocks of sparks that we gather along our lives. When a person is living his life, those sparks live with him. So the more sparks of light he has that he gathered all his life from his goodwill, actions, acts of faith, love, caring, sharing, working out of his comfort zone, those are the sparks that his soul is collecting. When humanity is collecting enough of them, that will tip the scale, Rav Ashlag is saying. He says, like, imagine that there's a huge scale in the heaven. And the little sesame seeds on the scale. There are two scales. One is with the low sparks, and one with the sparks that we already corrected. And every human being, when he does something like hopping, jumping out of his nature to do something good for the universe, for another person, he pulls one sesame seed from the scale of the lost sparks, and he puts them on the scale of the corrected sparks. When you have enough sparks on the corrected one, that will tip the scale, and that will create the age of Messiah. The age of Messiah is not that somebody will come. That will be a result. It's when there is enough, there's a kind of a critical mass of positivity being done. And what the sages are saying, every person has to imagine all his life that this action you're going to do today, right now, could be the last one. That could be the one that will tip the scale. And even if the one you do is not the one that's tipping the scale, when somebody tips the scale, it's going to tip the scale thanks to your spark. Because if you didn't do your action today, this act won't tip the scale in time to come. Right? So every person has to take a responsibility that I'm together with all the rest of humanity. We are working together for one goal. Even though I don't see it. Why I don't see it? If I would see how close it is, I wouldn't work so hard. Remember? Why do we work hard? When we're bothered. When we feel divorced. When we feel thrown out of one place. When it's so stressful to be in a place. So then we start working. Otherwise, I'm comfortable. Why should I change? People don't like to change. Unless it's painful enough. So this is the Kabbalistic vision of how the whole of humanity, by little actions of kindness, of good deeds, of going out of your nature Every time you do something like this, you correct a spark, and that creates flocks and flocks of sparks of positive light. And the moment, the scale is that right now, the scale with the black sesame seeds is much heavier. How do you know? Look at the world around you. But the moment one sesame seed will tip the scale, suddenly the whole world will change. Because tipping the scale means that there are enough flocks to roll the stone, and the well will start flow and feed the world with endless light of love and spirituality and truth and wisdom and stuff like this. This is the well. Talking about how? When you follow Jacob's instructions, how to depart Beersheba and to go up to the place of holies. And that's what this story is about. Now, the story goes on. Here goes a story that on the well, who does he meet? Rachel. Very simple. Here comes another story about finding your soulmate. Can you imagine? Jacob is going to look for his soulmate, and when he comes to the well, here he finds her. Wow, that's... By the way, where did Eliezer meet Rivka? By the well also, right? Maybe you should go to the well to look for your soulmate. But the well is a symbol. It's a symbol of the water coming from the bottom to the upwards. And that symbol is called man in Hebrew. Initials of Mayim Nukbim. Female water. What is Mayim Nukbim? It's like a spring. What is a spring? The water that their nature is to go down underneath and to be swallowed by the earth. When they just emerge against gravity up above the earth, that's the same energy of a miracle. And that's why, if you heard about the fountain of youth, what is the concept of the fountain of youth? The fountain of youth is that power of going against gravity. What else goes against gravity? Trees. And that's why you have the tree of life. Okay, it's the same thing. So when a person is young, he is growing against gravity. When he's becoming old, when he's starting to lose his height. And that could be, just one news. Somebody told him something, oops, he loses height. Why? He goes back to the ground. When he gets the good news, what happens? You become higher and taller. Why? There was a research like this. There was a senior citizen home in Sweden, and they decided to make a research. And what did they do? They divided by a wall. It was a big place. They divided by a wall, and now you had on one side of the wall. They just gave the people good time, good food, good music, just good time. Okay. The other side of the wall, no good time. They have to get up early in the morning. They placed a lot of pots with flowers around. Everybody had to take care about some flowers, some pots. They had to take care of each other. They had to serve each other. The ones who were more healthy, they would have to serve the ones who were less. And so on. They were working from morning to night. Who had more pleasant life? The ones on the other side of the wall, right? But after a year, they measured what happened, and they found out the mortality rate among the ones that were busy working hard from morning till night dropped tremendously. Like 60%. They had no time to die. They were so busy to do something else for others. And one more thing, their average height went up. Why? When a person gets old, and then he has no vision anymore, he has no reason to get up in the morning, he has no reason to do anything good for anyone else. Now it's time that everybody else will do good for me. Then you have no muscle tone. What's holding your skeleton, your muscles? But when you don't have adrenaline, because you're not expecting anything, you're sitting there waiting, then your muscles become very soft. And then you don't have anything to hold your skeleton, so the skeleton starts to fold in. Right? But the moment You are busy because you have to get up in the morning because there are things to do for others and somebody is waiting for you. That energy gets you the hormones, the adrenaline, and that makes your muscle tone be toned up. And then that pulls your bones and your skeleton and you start to be straightened. And that's how their height grew taller. Amazing, huh? And that's exactly the story over here. Going against gravity means share when you don't feel like. Care when you don't feel like. Be nice when you feel like being something else. That's called female water because the earth is the energy of the female. When that energy is turned into going from down above, which is called again a miracle. When you flee your nature, no, I shouldn't do anything. No, it's too late. No, well, what for? It will never work. Instead of, I have to, I must. Let's move on. I don't know where, but we have to. When you do that, you create a miracle. And then the action is from below to above. And that's where the water rises from below to above. You're looking for a soulmate? What do you want? You want to have hell? You want to have heaven? If the energy you project is the energy of creating, projecting, positivity, vision, whatever, of course you draw to yourself people with the same energy. That's a soulmate. When your energy is like, I'm miserable and I'm never going to do it, then you get somebody, if you get somebody that thinks the same, and that's terrible because that's going to be hell. Why? Because everybody will be busy all day long blaming the others. Why didn't you do what I wanted you to do? No, I thought you should do it. No, you should do it. And then the blaming is there, and that's hell. The story goes on. Of course, we can't cover the whole story. We have only an hour. But the story goes on from here. He meets Rachel, but then it's a problem. He meets her father, and the father of Rachel, Lavan. Lavan in Hebrew means white. But he was not white. He was the worst dark magician in the world. Sometimes how the people that are the worst, they disguise under, they're messengers of human rights, right? But inwardly, they're the worst. They speak in a name. There were enough terrible regimes that spoke for freedom for all workers, freedom for all men, and inside that was the worst ever regimes in history. That's Lavan. Yaakov, he ran away from his brother. He finds his uncle, which is much worse than his brother. But he finds his soulmate over there. He's willing to pay the price. He's working 7 years for Rachel. 7 years he's working for her. However, what does it say? Remember, he hopped. He had the ability to jump and to hop. It says for him, he loved her so much, it looked for him like days. That's another thing. When you have a vision, then you can hop from A to B without stopping anywhere, without being there. You can make the impossible come true. And also, it doesn't matter for you how long does it take. The moment you look at the watch, at the calendar, it's taking too long. You're not there anymore. When you're connected to the vision, to the real vision, then you don't care how long does it take. Because for you, what is vision? You're already there. For you, it already happened. You already hopped. You already jumped, fled from Beersheba, and you went to the place of Holy of Holies. You're already there. And because you're already there, you already live it. You have the energy to work. You have the energy to wait. You don't feel like you're waiting. You feel like you're earning. You're earning your vision. Because the vision is not that, when are we going together already? That's very childish. When you leave somewhere, 2 minutes later, the kids in the back, Mommy, when are we going to get there? Right? That's being a child. Same thing we say to ourselves. Okay, we work already 2 minutes. How come, I'm doing the work for 2 days already. I don't see Messiah coming. Look, you will see Messiah when you see Messiah, which means, how do you know when you don't look at the watch anymore, the calendar, to see how long it's taking, you know already you got there. Now that the rest of people don't see that, that's none of their business and none of your business. Who cares? That's about visionaries. They don't let anyone take away the excitement from having a vision. That's another thing that Jacob is teaching us. Why? His love was so strong and so real. For him, it's already happened. It's already given. It's done. However, we have a problem. His father-in-law is such a liar and a cheat. When they meet on the well, immediately Rachel she's falling in love with him immediately, but she says to Jacob, you're going to work for me? Remember, my father is the biggest cheat and liar in the world. So what do? They switch signs. Because, under the wedding, you can't see the bride. You don't know, what did you buy? What's in the bag? So they switch signs, symbols that are going to test on each other during the wedding if it's the real thing. And the day comes, and as Rachel expected, she's waiting for 7 years for that wedding. Can you imagine, she's choosing the wedding dress. She's everything, the makeup, everything is ready. And her father comes in and says, you're not getting married today. Your older sister has to marry before you. She's going to the wedding. Can you imagine what she's feeling like after 7 years? To the man she loves, and it's not just the man, it's Jacob. Right? She knows it's Jacob because she's Rachel. What does she do? The first thought on her mind is not what about the dress, not about my love, is my sister. If she does not have the signs, Jacob will find out during the wedding. He'll make a scandal. And my sister is going to be ashamed in front of the whole community. I can't stand that thought. She calls her sister, she says, under the chuppah, you'll have to exchange with him the signs, because otherwise he will know it's not me. So Leah, her sister, during the wedding, makes the signals to Jacob, and he knows that this is Rachel, although this is Leah. Only in the morning he realizes that was the sister and not his love. But can you imagine but this is why Rachel is Rachel Imenu. Rachel, the matriarch. In Hebrew it's even closer. Matriarch is kind of. In Hebrew is Rachel, our mother. How many women you still call them mother 4,000 years later? That's what made her be our mother. Because she knew that more important than her love is not to shame her sister. And that's how she bought. That's again another hop. Yes, she lost the wedding. She got married later on to him. He worked another 7 years for her. Another 7 years. And the result is that he could give birth to bring to the world 12 sons in this parasha. Why 12 sons? Why there's a story of each one of them? Because each one of them is a symbol, the Zohar says, for one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Every human being has within himself 12 signs of the zodiac. That's his nature. That's his tikkun. That's his goals and his obstacles and his challenges. It's all in his birth chart. Every human being. However, when you're connected to Jacob, when you're connected to Rachel, when you're connected to Leah, you have the ability to connect to the 12 tribes. And that means that each one of them became a connector to one of the 12 signs. And that means connecting to that gives you the power to hop, to jump above your given nature, above your astrology chart, above, that's the nature you're born with. If you connect it to this story, you'll be able